ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between.
He's your favorite Mexican-American Gemini from South Texas. It's Chibbi.
And she's the lipstick-loving Salvadorican from Brooklyn, New York. It's Raqui.
And this is Words and Shit,
the show where you get to know the person behind the poetry.
Brought to you by Write Art Out.
Oh,
Raqui.
How are you?
I'm doing okay.
My heart is racing right now. Y'all don't know. We were having some technical glitches behind the scenes, and then I forgot to change a name. You know what? It's all behind us. We're here.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I don't know how. I thought we were gonna just like breeze past and be like, whatever, But you know what? It's okay. We have to own up to our mistakes and we learn from them, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm just happy to be here. Today brought me so much joy. I don't know where it was where you were, but it was perfect. It was 69 degrees, a little breezy, sunny. I was just so inspired by the day. So I'm happy for the day and happy to be here with you.
Oh man, I'm the same too. I'm just like, whoo, this is why I miss being in Texas just because of this beautiful sun. I'm really getting my vitamin D. Please, 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 sun, don't go away when I go back to Brooklyn. But it's all right.
It's all good. It's all good. We're here now, though. We are here now.
We are here right now. And I'm so excited, right? I'm so excited for this show, episode 2 of season 2, right? And we're going to be talking a lot about identities. I know. I love to talk about identities. I feel like identities is what I've written for all my academic papers. I nonstop talking about it, social justice issues and everything. And so, I really think about even in our times, we keep living these historical events and really what it means to be a US American, right? Mm-hmm. Especially being with different ethnicities and having, multiple nationalities. So I was just wondering, how do you identify and how do you navigate those?
Right. This idea of living in the hyphen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think over time I've come to appreciate the fact that I can identify as a South Texan, because I feel like South Texas has this beautiful, just conglomeration of so many different identities, that you just get to experience all of them. And that's what brings me joy in that identity, is this mix of Mexican and American and everything else that's down here, So that's where I find the joy in that mix. What about you? Because I know you are both Salvadorian, Puerto Rican, living in Jersey, New York, Texas. Where's your intersection and joy?
And I feel like it's just it's just a lot. I feel like throughout my life, I've still been negotiating and I mean, your identity is always constantly changing, right? So for me, I think I really, really embody ni de aquí ni allá, really, right? Not from here, not from there. I've spent half of my life up in the north and East Coast and half of my life in the South. And I feel like those are all my identities, plus being what it is, US American, being Salvadorian, Puerto Rican, right? It's a constant thing. But I think the greatest joy for me is actually naming my identities and naming myself constantly over and over again, right? And then reclaiming that power of who I am and how I identify in this world. Right.
I love that. And for everybody watching at home, let us know in the comments, how do you find joy in your hyphen, right? Or in your identity? I'd love to hear it. Because our guest today is very prolific about that. Living in kind of like you said, ni de aquí ni de allá, neither here nor there. And his name literally means the joy that fills this house, so excited to jump into this conversation and to talk more about maybe the intersections of identities and joy and all of that. Our guest today is Ayokunle Falomo. He is a Nigerian American and TEDx speaker and the author of African, American, that was published by the New Delta Review in 2019. It actually won the chapbook competition last year. He also has 2 self-published collections, KIN.DREAD, published in 2017, and THREAD, This Wordweaver Must from 2014. His work has been featured in print and online numerous times, including in the New York Times, the Houston Chronicle, Houston Public Media, Right About Now, Michigan Quarterly Review, Glass Mountain, Berkeley Poetry Review, Santa Fe Raiders Project, and the Texas Review. A recipient of the fellowship from Vermont Studio Center and MacDowell, his poems have been selected as finalists or winners for 14 Hills Press Stacy, Doris Memorial Award, and so much more. He is currently accolades upon accolades. So excited.
Go on.
He is currently an MFA poetry student at the University of Michigan's Helen Zell Writers Program, but today he is coming to us from Houston, Texas. Y'all, please help me welcome Ayokunle Falomo.
Oh!
Ayo!
Yay!
Ayo?
Hey. Wait, can you wait? Okay, all right, here I am. I was like, wow, quick, can you hear me?
I'm like, you are here, sir. You are here, and we are live.
I was like, I'm here. I just can't see myself. But.
It's okay. Well, we see you, and Chibbi is just like, what is going on?
What is going on? Well, it is blowing up in the comment section right now. People are excited to have you. Poet, yes. Ayo, a lot of Ayo.
They're loving you. I love it. I guess we can just like go into it. This is at least my first time interacting with you. And I've always, I feel like with poets, especially when we get to know your poetry, we get to know you so intimately. So I already consider you as a friend, right? So I always ask my friends when the day starts, like, how's your heart today? So let's start with there. How's your heart today?
My heart is actually really good. It was like, it was a really good day. So I would say my heart is really good. I would say my heart is probably like sunny. The sun was out today, and I spent time in the park for a little while. So yeah, my heart is sunny. Yeah.
I love that, and it's these beautiful days like today, these little Texas winters that we have to cherish. Days like today, especially given everything and how much we have to like stay at home. Just this idea of being able to be outside and be comfortable outside. So much joy today.
Yeah, it was really nice actually. Yeah.
Oh, but I love that. All right. So now thank you for sharing where your heart is. So let's go into getting to know you even more, right? So this is our segment where we do like a little speed dating.
Okay.
We have questions prepared for you. Chibbi and I will alternate back and forth, and you can just let us know. Let the audience know who is Ayo. Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, first question. How would your favorite person describe your poetry?
Oh, is that a loaded question?
Well, I mean, because now I have to pick my favorite person. It's easy. My mom. My mom would probably describe my poetry as, that's so wild. I actually have never asked her before how she would describe my poetry. This is a good question. I think she would describe my poetry probably the same way she would describe me, which is probably just like honest, and caring. Yeah, like honest and straightforward is probably like what I can think of.
I love that. Yeah, and reading your work, that definitely stands out. It's very honest and straightforward and very caring too. You're very careful about the subjects that you write and how you write about it. So
can I give a little anecdote, like, because I actually literally had a conversation with her, I think yesterday. I was like just like asking her like how was I as a child? Like there was something in particular that I was like asking about. And she was like, and then she told this story about one time that we had gone. She said, "Yeah, you were always kind of, people would know where you stand." Even as a child, like you were very vocal about how you were with things. And then she made this. She told me this story about her taking me to go visit an aunt of hers, like outside of town. And then we were supposed to come back home like that night, but then because like we couldn't find like transportation to bring us back. So my aunt was like, "Why not just stay till the next morning?" And so we stayed. But then when it was like 10 p.m., and mind you, I was like maybe 2 years old at this point. When it was like 10 p.m., I was like, "Let's go home. It's time to go home." And I would like pull her and just be like, "Yeah, we're going home." We're going home.
You're like, "I'm done. Thank you. Goodbye."
And he was like, and I was like, no, we're going home. Up to the point where like the neighborhood watch had to like come knock at the door, like, why is a child getting at night? So yeah, I feel like that kind of describes my poetry in a way.
I love that. We have some comments coming through saying your work is authentic. Ayo is amazing. His poetry is music. So people love you. All right, next question then. What is your most overused word?
Ooh, that's good. In poems or just in general?
Yeah, however you want to answer it.
I think I probably use "to" a lot. In poetry, in poems, I use "to" and "still." And then in regular life, I think I use "interesting" a lot.
That's interesting.
I know, I really wanted to say that.
And by interesting, I don't actually mean it's interesting. So Lois tells me this all the time. She says, "Ayo, you could just say it's bad." You know,
right? It's like when you're critiquing like somebody's works, it's like you made some interesting choices.
Like, no, you could just say bad. You can use the word bad. It's like,
you can be honest, right?
I'm like, but it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting, you know. It's like
to someone.
Say bad.
Yeah. I love like the facial expressions too. Like it's interesting.
You have to make that face. It's interesting.
All right. So the next question is, what's your favorite dish?
Ooh. I think anything rice.
Yeah.
I love rice a lot. I love my mom's like jollof rice. She cooks jollof rice. She cooks fried rice. So yeah, anything.
I just made today some 4-meat fried rice, and it was amazing. So I'm with you on that one.
What are the 4 meat in there?
It was bacon, pork chops, shrimp, and chicken tenderloins.
Ooh. That's like a whole feast.
Bam! It is. I made so much I had to send some away to my cousin. I was like, we're not going to eat this in 3 weeks. Get out of here.
Wow, y'all have like fancy like dishes of rice. I just have like rice and beans. That's it. And it's stressful.
Yeah. I'll eat anything with rice. Trust me.
And we all know in the South, rice and beans is a delicacy. Okay.
It is.
All right. Last question. What is your favorite literary device?
Ooh. Oh. That's wow. I have to choose.
I would never force you to choose. I'm a Gemini, so I would never force anyone to pick just one if you can't.
Ooh. Dang it. Probably apostrophe, actually. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Probably apostrophe. Yeah. Partly because I feel like I need to learn how not to do it, but like I talk to like there, even if it is just me, like there's somebody being addressed, There's something being addressed in my poems. I don't know. Like So apostrophe, yeah.
I like that. That was unexpected and interesting.
I did not expect that at all.
All right. Well, that was just a little teaser to get to know Ayo quickly at the beginning. The comment section is already blowing up, so I don't think I need to tell you, audience, but like use the comment section. We're watching. If you got a question for Ayo, drop it in the comment section. We'll get to it. Paolo wants to know what about Italian risotto, though?
I have never tried it. I was actually looking not too long ago about like making like a mushroom risotto kind of thing, but because I love mushroom, I just like have mushroom in the fridge. I was like, I wonder if you could.
You can. Risotto is delicious. You just can't step away at all. Yeah. You just constantly have to be on it. So.
Yeah, I don't think I have that kind of patience, because I looked up the recipe and I was like, this kind of sounds too much like to do with rice.
It's a lot.
It's wet. It's basically wet rice.
I was like, is it rice? But I guess.
It's a rice.
Like really wet rice. I'm just like, I don't know if I have the energy for this.
That's hysterical. Well, we may talk more about food in a little bit, but right now, let's get into the poetry. So again, audience, use the comment section. Without further ado, we're gonna disappear, and Ayo, the floor is yours. Please grace us with some poetry.
Awesome. I'll set my timer for 15 minutes so that I don't lose track of time. Okay, I'll start with a poem that actually ends the chapbook, African American, but it is an introduction of sorts. So let's start there. I didn't know to dig. It's called On Diaspora. I didn't know to dig deep into my own history until I heard Ariana, Lois, and Mwende talk about how deep the colonizers dug their hands into our soils. And so I burrow my way through the dirt and find myself at a workshop where I then throw up all the soil in my not fertile enough to grow anything, but I digress. We're all sharing our experiences now. We take turns speaking of the language of the diaspora, that is the common thread in the fabric of what displaces us. Sometimes this is by choice, oftentimes not. Either way, we tear through the seams. To be a child of the diaspora is to speak in dreams deferred and hopes shattered. It is to be stripped, skin and all. It's bearing bones and being made to watch the pulverizing. We speak in crushed and groans and blood and calloused hands. We are sons and daughters of our fathers, the rough of their palms a map. It's us turning a when I was your age and remember whens into lullabies we all know the words to. It's a hymnal we sing with conviction, even when hope is a sinking ship. The sweat on our parents' faces a mighty river. We stay afloat somehow. It is the belief that one day these hands will take the harvest back home to our fathers and mothers. It's harvest always on the horizon, but no hands enough for the gathering. It's some dying on the fields, never to know the return back to something that once was. To be African in America is to be fish out of water. It is to remember everything the water wishes to drown. It is to utter yourself onto dry land, but that is never as sturdy enough as you imagine it would be. There's always something in the water that knows you by name, reaches out and begs your feet to dance your way back home. And you shuffle and put one left foot in front of the other. You want to dance it right. But home is a song your feet have forgotten the steps to. The workshop ends. I leave for the city I now call home. I hand the man at the airport my passport, and he greets me in a language that is mine, wishes me well. And I thank him. I say, Eshe gan. Forgive my memory. It is possible this was from a different trip. I'm thinking maybe it is the one I took with my brother to Jonesboro, Arkansas. Long ways from Houston, I know. Blame me for telling him to spread his wings and not let distance limit him. It's not easy to find a school that offers a master's degree in agricultural economics. Trust me. I know because I helped him with the search. Either way, this is how to understand kinship. Through the way a stranger lets each letter of your name dance on their tongue. Honey seeping through teeth held in place by shade of gum similar to yours. Face plastered with the same smile you imagine adorned your mother's upon your arrival. Have I told you my name and how it is a joy that fills an entire house? Forgive my memory. I have, even then, consider this an introduction. The next poem I'm going to read is called Full Mouth, Open Mouth. It is 2007. I walk into a country that is not mine with a full mouth. My foreign drips down my chin from its overflow. It is 2017, and my mouth is still full. I did not trade my teeth for a good meal. By that, I mean that even when I was in this new country, hungry for a validation, sizzling as the miracle that could only have been wrought by a mother's hands, I have walked away from the table. I mean that I know who I am enough to die hungry than be fed an identity or a name that isn't solely mine. I am a hybrid of sorts, still learning and unlearning what it is that I am. I mean that I am in awe of how holy it is to exist in the imperfect way that I do. It is 2007. I walk into a park, into a circle of boys the same age as I am. They are about to start a game of what they call soccer. I call it football. I say, my name is my name. He says, who? I say, my name. He says, yo. I say, my name. It says, yo, man, can I just call you A? I say, no. You may not. No, you may not. Be. Becoming is an unraveling. There is a gift to reward the work it takes to be. Whatever creature you shape-shift into, you gloriously imperfect hybrid be. Being called out of your name into a name that isn't even a name is a different kind of unraveling. I know it's cold outside, but be bold enough to let your brittle bones bear the burden of a body that knows what it means to survive. Wrap yourself in that coat. See how easy it is for a person to be an accessory in another's mouth. It is 2010. I walk into a college campus. A friend walks beside me. Asks, by the way, how did your English get so good? You've only been in America about 3 years, right? And I tell him, English is actually my country's official language. For 13 years, the education I received in my own country penalized me for allowing my mouth to be an open and welcome floor for my mother's tongue to dance on. So yeah, here on this table, I have prepared for myself a full course meal of myself and all that I am and still trying to be, bones and all. My mouth is still full, but I have never stopped being hungry. And wouldn't it be a shame if I swallowed all my teeth and let myself starve? The next poem I'm going to read is called So, How Does It Feel to Be a Citizen or The day America asked me about my mother, and I said, "Who? I do not know that woman." To be a naturalized American citizen is to feast on the fattest part of the cow. It isn't the whole cow, but your plate is licked clean. You leave no bones on the plate. You chew until there is no memory left of what it was you were before this. And you, because of this, call your mouth a traitor? I swear, I did not know I would have to swear off loyalty to my mother's land. Tiny flag in hand and a chest full of questions. I looked through my father's face like I remember doing my mother's purse for something that wasn't, but that I could claim as mine. For an answer I could not find. Only his shoulders spoke in what I could translate as a surrender to fate. And the entire room of aliens at the oath ceremony sings the anthem loud and proudly. I suppose to prove they're American. And my mouth, even now, 4 years later, cannot find the words. No. Wait. I think I got it now. Erasure. Oh, say, can you see the red glare of home? This one is called Alien Registration, or the DS-230 is an animal with two parts. Part 1, biographic data. Instructions. Form, complete, form, copy, yourself, complete, yourself, form, yourself, mark, yourself, insufficient, answer, yourself, form, question, yourself, separate, attach, yourself, complete, form, complete, warning, fact, false, result, exclusion, false, exclusion, fact, result, fact, result, false, conceal, fact, statement, permanent, false. One way to identify a human is by their, her, his name, and an alien by its number. Mine, 2007 AF 0001 0225. And I suppose since everything must have a name or a number, let's give the form a name. Let's call it an animal. And if it is, and it is, and is too capable of shape-shifting, then I suppose I must make myself all teeth and find what part of the animal I can easily sink myself into. Maybe the neck, yes, the neck, yes, the ink on the page is black, but somehow I see red. The red is my father's blood. This river that still runs through his veins ran out of his page, ran out of his pen onto the page. And I know one day this river of his will run out and dry up. But I know his mouth has already thrown up pebbles and left them for me to find on the riverbed. The animal is all mouth, its throat full of so many pebbles. And so then I suppose my hands must be useful for something, if only this once. And so I will open the throat of the animal, strip it of its hide, branded with a 2007, and pick out the pebbles one by one. I'll lay them out in no order that is particular. 1, 1990, 5, 77082, 11, 1993, 04, 15, 07, 25, 345, 14, 15, 16, 12, 12, 12, 13, 30, 17, 18, 06, 30, 19, 67, 10, 3, 4, 5, 19, 20, 21A, 22B, 22, 23, 09, 2, 3, 09, 12, 4, 5, 15, 1904, 1952, 30, 3, 4, 5, 2001, 09, 06, 2001, 24, 25, 16, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3806, 3803, Part 2, Sworn Statement. And if I should defy instructions and the warning and stop here and not complete form, no. It will remind me IDS 230 Part 2 together with Part 1 constitutes the complete alien. And so then, can I claim human? No. Or I am still alien? All right. I have one more poem. I'll make this one a very short one. This one is called Lord, Teach My Throat. Lord, teach my throat to be a whale. I know my voice is Jonah. It too is bent on doing its own will most days, but oh Lord, teach my throat to swallow my voice whole. Let there be, O Lord, not even a sequestrum or even the tiniest piece of my lung, of my tongue left to speak of the years of silence that ran like rivers through 2 continents. And how on the phone, mother asks, how are you? I say, fine. I ask, how are you? She says, fine. She says, I hope it is not too cold over there and you're staying warm. I say, yes. I ask, how are things in Nigeria? I say, she says, we thank God. She says, it still is how it was like when you left with you or that then.
And the crowd goes, why? Oh my.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
I mean,
Wow. Chills. Just chills. I think I was like snapping. I was like, oof. I'm writing down like notes, like nothing. All your words, just like mind blowing.
I know. I was watching you, Helen. You were like, there's so much to unpack in your.
Hi, Gloria. By the way, my sister just like did applause. Hi, Gloria. Your
work is there's a density to it, you know. So there's just so much to unpack there. And I think before we get to the poetry, I want to ask about something not poetry related, because you do write a lot about being an immigrant and the immigration process and becoming a citizen. You know, you came here from Nigeria when you were like 17, right? Okay. And it was like 5 years later that you became a citizen, you know. And you know, I'm an immigrant. Raquel, I feel like you are a child of immigrants.
I am a child of immigrants.
You know, and so it often seems to me that the people that have to work for American citizenship cherish it a lot more than those that are just granted it by birth. So I'm curious for you, what does it mean to you, given everything that's going on right now, to be a U.S. citizen? And has that changed for you since you first got it back in 2013?
It's always been weird to me. It still is. It probably gets a lot more weirder as I grow up. I would say I was, for the most part, ambivalent when I became a citizen. And I've started in the past maybe week or so. I did not mean to, but like looking at the way the the countries like looking. I probably like started a few trouble on Facebook. Because I'm just like expressing how I feel about this country or about any country, just to be honest. But I don't know. I felt very ambivalent when I became a citizen. Like I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand how anybody can be American by choice.
Yeah. No, I think like it was funny because he Facebook friended me, and like that was one of the first conversations. You're like, wow, people are really about being like American.
It baffles me, and I don't mean to like be on a moral higher ground when I say that, but it genuinely baffles me that people actually love countries, like their countries.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And this like disillusionment, right, of this like land that has been stolen, this land that's been made by immigrants, by like slaves, like people of color, about Black people, right? And it's just this whiteness is like holding on to it. So it is a very disillusionment of being a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they say about like what do they call them, buffet Christians? That just it's Christians that believe in Christianity, but only the parts that they want to believe, right? So it's like a buffet. You just take what you want and you ignore everything
and discard the rest. I see.
Yeah. So buffet patriotism. Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have just coined a phrase right now.
No, that is good, Chibbi. That is good. Yeah.
No, I really, so wow. I know that we're, still talking about citizenship, but I really love the idea, and especially you brought this up in your first poem, this idea of a child of a diaspora, right? I feel like that's reflected in all your poems. And I just want to talk about, really, what does it mean to be a child of the diaspora, or for those who don't know what a diaspora is, can you talk about what a diaspora means to you?
Well, I think for me is, this might sound probably like, but I think, when people talk about like world citizenship, like, oh, I'm a citizen of the world. I think being in diaspora kind of like informs you to like be a citizen of the world. So, you understand that whatever is like happening in Nigeria, in Beirut, in Mexico, like affects you somehow, right? And you're not just, I think this is probably particularly something that's like very American centric, to believe that America is kind of like the center of the world, right? And, we're kind of like alone in our bubbles and all of that. And anything else that's like happening around the world doesn't impact us, or we're not affected by it. And I think that's just like not true, right? In every sense of the word. I think being a child or like being a citizen of the diaspora, number one, makes you realize, oh, I don't have any ties to to this concept of like country. And you can be a citizen of the world because other people's experiences are connected to you in a way that's like meaningful, and that can allow you to then make the changes that need to be made. So you're not just like isolated. It's kind of what I'm saying. So yeah.
No, literally, you can't be isolated, because even the word diaspora, right? Spora means seed.
Yeah, so, it's not a place, right? It's not a fixed thing, right? We say diaspora. It's not a thing. It's ineffable, right? It's and that's what I want to be, at least. I don't want to be fixed. Yeah.
I think that definitely comes across in your work, and you explore this idea of being from everywhere and nowhere so well. Like even just looking at the titles of your books, African American and KIN.DREAD. If you see the title laid out, it's African, American,
right,
and kin. Period, dread. So both of those just kind of like allude to this idea of fractures,
Right.
you know, or a division of self. So how do you approach that, and how has that exploration of a fractured identity kind of shaped the way you see things?
Well, thank you, by the way. I just want to say, like, thank you for like that observation. Like, it makes me happy to be like, yeah, that like the stuff that I'm doing like makes sense.
Well, thank you for writing it.
I was going to say, I was like, I have notes. I have notes on it. Go ahead.
And of course, like, it's not, you know, like, it's not intentional in the sense of like, oh, I sat down and I was like, I'm gonna make, right? But everything kind of like just like ultimately connects. And I think if you're like speaking from a place of fracture, like, it just like you can't write from a place of non-fracture. You can't write fractured from a place of non-fractured, right? Fracture. It's always kind of gonna be there. And I think because I'm always kind of trying to make sense of, especially because, you know, I came here at 17. And so, of course, I was a different person at 17 than I am now, right? And also just like graduated high school, you know, at 17. And I came here to the United States. Like, that's like, what? I have to like, I'm still like in the process of becoming who I was becoming then, right? And then you move me, right, to like a whole different world, and then I have to kind of like I have to like make that negotiation again to determine who I am. And so, yeah, like that probably always will be the thing that I write about till the day I die, and I'm fine with it. But it's still kind of like a bafflement, you know. And to answer your question, I think just like remembering that like allows me to be able to be like, okay, what is it? What is the new thing about it today when I'm writing? And it's funny because like it's endless. I find out new things every day. So yeah, but that fracture is mine. So I have to do something with it.
You are so right. You think you've like exhausted a topic, and then one day you're like, I don't think I've looked at it from this perspective. And it's like you're diving right back into it. So yeah, for sure.
No, I really do love it. I love not only this ideas of fracture, but you put so much pauses, right, in your poetry, whether it be formatted. Because I was looking at like your words on actual paper and how you space them out. And I love that it makes you actually like eat the word, right? Digest the word and see what you're going through. Even in your last poem, like just the fractureness and the pauses. And I was just like, mind blown.
I wanted to throw a shoe at you, sir, that last poem.
Thank you. You know, but it's again, it speaks to like my experience, right? This, like, none of this is just for like, oh, let's put a space, you know, like it's like talking to while I was here, right? My mom was in Nigeria with my siblings, right? So we were apart for like 7-8 years, right? I did not see my mother for 7-8 years, right? And when we would talk on the phone, right? If you know anything about calling people internationally, the connection is really, really bad, right? And so what I'm doing is mimicking that, like, because literally, you know, what is in the poem is a conversation we had, right? And so it's not going to be straightforward because I'm hearing, and then you miss parts, you know, and like it has to be like that. I can't write a poem that's not about my experience. You know what I mean? Like about my experience. So yeah.
Let's dive into that writing a little bit more, because like let's talk about KIN.DREAD.
Oh
here.
God, yeah.
Let's talk about dense, okay?
Oh Lord.
And you write a lot about that experience of immigrating and, you know, like getting your family over. But like this book is like part memoir. It's part diary entries. It's poetry. It's prose. It's also a writing workshop, people. Okay.
Oh, you wrote in it. Yeah.
Of course I wrote in it. It's brilliant. Ayo, like you introduce a topic with your work, and then you provide space for people to kind of like take a moment to reflect on what you've just introduced. Like, this is a college textbook. Where did the idea for this book come from? And like, how is that process of putting it together? Because it is brilliant.
Well, thank you. But it was also a headache.
I can imagine.
It was a headache. Yeah, Lois makes fun of me all the time. She says, "You don't write. You just don't know how to write small books."
No.
But that's okay, though, because I think we need to have those dense books.
Even my chapbook is like 60 pages. Oh, and then let me do it. Thank you, New Delta Review. It's probably like a no, because I was like, yeah, can I just add one more poem, please? It's really, really important. And they were like, oh, well, okay, maybe. But the process of like putting it together, the inspiration for it, especially the prompts, like I felt like, this goes back to like the whole apostrophe thing we were talking about earlier. I felt like I really wanted to have a conversation with people, and I knew there was a part of me that knew that all the things that I was kind of talking about in the book, that I wasn't alone, right? That it was not just me experiencing those things, that other people were experiencing the same thing, but there is really no way to like know that for sure. So I was like, maybe if I give people opportunity to actually like have a conversation, even if I never see that, right? But I know that somewhere in the world, people are like sitting down to kind of respond literally to like something that they've just read. Because you can't, like, you read it, right? And then you turn, and then it's asking you to respond. So you have two choices. You can either respond or like not, right? But it's there. The opportunity is there. And a lot of like what that book is about, the idea of like kinship and then dread was, I was trying to like write about just like my family, but also I was trying to write about like some of the things that I was like afraid of. And then ultimately, like I realized then that these are not separate things. Like ultimately the things that I'm like afraid of have in some way to do with like, my family, or like, where I come from and all that kind of stuff. And basically it was an attempt to kind of like bring all of these things together. Ultimately that's kind of like what resulted in like KIN.DREAD.
Genius. I'm like over here just like mind blown. I am geeking out so much.
People want to know, there's a couple of people that are like, I need this book in my life. Is it still available? Is it on your website? Can people still get it?
It is actually like as of like December, I was gonna like take it off, partly because like I'm like the one responsible for shipping it, and I don't want to do that anymore. So it's still there. So if you want to tonight, do. Probably by the end of January, like it will not be available anymore. So if you want it, you can go to my website, and it would still be there. Oh, and I think it's on Amazon too. Somebody just said they see it on Amazon. So yeah, if you want to go through Amazon, that's great. But if you also want to give me money directly, that would also be nice.
Yeah, because I'm just putting this out there as someone who also has books on Amazon. Don't buy our books on Amazon. They only give us like $2. So
if you want to give me the money, like
go direct to the writer always.
I also want to just talk about like the book in itself has, I feel like you had so much freedom to put so much of yourself, right? And then I know that you are doing an MFA program, and I know that sometimes MFAs can be very limited and strict and so precise of how they want you to produce work. So I just want to see, like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Because I'm there with you. It was a hard, yeah.
I'm doing okay. My program, and I'm not saying this, like if my program was like crap and shit, I would say it here. But like, thank God my program has been like really, really wonderful. And as far as like producing work, the only difficult thing is like in addition to like everything else that's happening, like in addition to like every other responsibility that I have, like if I'm in workshop, you have to produce work like every time you're due for workshop. And so but that's already something I do. Like I write like every day.
Clearly.
That doesn't mean that everything I write every day is like good. That doesn't mean everything I write every day is a poem. But like if it just a line, or like I'm reading and like something pops up and I just like type it up or whatever. But like I'm kind of constantly in that process of like creating something consistently. And so the demands of the MFA as far as like producing work like isn't necessarily doesn't necessarily affect me. Now like the part that's like tricky is because you could produce work, do workshop, people give you feedback. I might not get to editing because I love editing. I might not get to editing until like much later, but it's like the work is already kind of like done, and you can always go back and revise. Matter of fact, I'm editing the poems because I have to turn in my thesis this semester, and so I'm editing the poems from spring of 2020. I'm just now getting to editing them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
I am like so curious because I know when a lot of my professors they were like, okay, when you have your thesis, you have to have an elevator speech, right? If you can just do it in like a couple of seconds to describe your thesis, do it in an elevator speech. So can you talk about your thesis a little bit in like that short amount of time?
Oh, I can. Well, it's about like it's basically trying to tell autobiographical stories without telling autobiographical stories.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'll leave you to wonder what that looks like.
Leave our audience to go ahead and look for it, right? Look for your thesis once it's been published. But congratulations on that. I know that's a lot of work.
Thank you. I can't wait to turn it.
So let me add. Well, before I ask you my question, we have a question in the comments from the audience. When you write, do you prefer typing or writing by hand? That's a good this or that question. Typing or writing by hand?
It's both. It's not. Yeah, it's not either. It's both. I type on my phone in my notes app. And actually, like the notes app thing is like a recent thing. Probably like 2019 when I like first got an iPhone. But before that, it used to be Gmail draft. I would go to my email and type out the thing and just like leave it as a draft.
Wow, that's ingenuity right there.
I don't think I've heard anybody else like talk about this, but that used to be my thing. And then I would write by hand in my note pad. So yeah,
I love that. Well, then let me ask you, getting back to this the question of like education and your history and your background. So you got your undergrad in psychology.
Yes.
And then now you're in this MFA program for poetry. When or how did that change happen, that switch happen, or did it happen? Did you know when you were like getting your psychology, you're like, yeah, but ultimately I'm going to go do poetry in my life? Like how was that, navigating that?
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's in psychology from U of H, go Cougs.
They love you over there, by the way.
Yeah.
And then I got a master's degree, it's actually a specialist degree, which is like 60 hours. Like a regular master's is like 42. So like a specialist degree, which is like 60 hours plus internship in school psychology. from Sam Houston State University. Hit 'em up, cats. I actually don't have school spirit. It's like funny to me that I'm like doing this. But anyways, and so and then I practiced for like a few years doing school psychology. While I was doing this, while I was working full time, I was also going on tour. I would literally drive to like, I don't know, Laredo, right? Do a show, leave at like 3 a.m., right? I have to like get back to work at like 7:30, right? And I was doing that. And, I thought it was going to be kind of like that for as much as I could. But then I experienced like burnout from my work. And then I kind of had to like reconfigure, like, is this something that I want to do ultimately? And it turned out, not really. Poetry, is writing just in general is always going to be there for me. It's always kind of been like I would do it regardless. And so it was just a matter of like, okay, is there an opportunity for me to kind of do this like more than I was doing before? And it was like, okay, maybe the MFA route would kind of like afford me that. And it has, all I'm really responsible for is poems. Isn't that wild? That's my work.
I love it.
That's great. That's great. All right. Chibbi, are we ready for one more poem?
Well, I have one more question, if that's okay. Yeah. So like you said, like poetry is your work now. That's basically all you do, which bless you. And we are blessed for it. But you've seen a lot of publishing success. Your chapbook won the New Delta Poetry Chapbook Contest last year. You just got 2 poems published most recently that you posted about. You're someone that I see like you're doing the damn thing and doing it really well. What advice would you have for writers that are currently looking for homes for their work, whether it be individual pieces or entire collections?
Yeah, this is probably like, it sounds like a cop-out answer, but I promise you it's not. Just like read read the places that you are like interested in. And ultimately, if like you're interested in some place and you think your work might fit, just send them stuff. But ultimately it's like, read other people's stuff. It's not just about you. Read other people's stuff, share other people's stuff. Actually like care about like other people's stuff. Like it's not just about you. And when it does need to be about you, right? Like then you can kind of be able to like kind of assess, okay, something that I loved from this person, got published here, and it kind of like is similar to my work, so maybe they will publish my work, right? All of it is like a maybe. And then you send it and they're like, no. And you're like, and then you cry and then you're like, okay, all right. And then you kind of repeat that whole cycle until somebody's like, we would love to publish this. And then you're like, yay, thank you.
I love that, and for the longest, I love that advice too, because for the longest time, like I was a very avid supporter of poetry. So like any feature that would come through, I would buy their book and it just sat there forever. And then like now I've finally gotten around to being like, I need to read all these poetry books that I have. And it is the world of poetry that's out there. You are so right. Like read. And
yeah,
it makes you
like, how do I put together a book? How do I put together a chapter? How do I put, it's like, well, have you bought books?
Amanda just did.
I know.
Like, if you buy a book, you see that, oh, the way this book was formatted is different from the way this book was formatted. Like, now you start kind of getting ideas, right? But if you never read the books, like, how are you gonna know?
Mhm.
And you experiment with so many different styles in your book too, so I really appreciate that as well, just even visually too. So it's just an added layer to your poetry.
Yeah.
I like visual stuff.
Oh, well, this has been such a great conversation, Ayo. I feel like I have a lot of work to do. That's what I feel.
You and me both. Yeah.
Well, if you could please just close this out with one more poem, we would be greatly appreciative.
Well, thank you both. Thank you, Chibbi, and thank you, Raquel. Yeah, this has been like really, really wonderful. I'll end. I'll end with a poem that's kind of like in the spirit of what we've been talking about countries. And it takes its title from one of my status, like recently, one of my Facebook status. And I think the other thing you should know is like it's a duplex. It's a form that was created by Jericho Brown. The US is such a joke. Hell, oh hell, I can't believe I agreed to be a citizen of this dump. I'll never forgive my pop for bringing me here. It is cliche to hate America, I know. So I don't. It's so cliche to love America. So no, I don't. I love no country. I cannot love a country that would easily strip one's honor of its hue. Your honor, I can't be stripped of hue. My bones, they claim no country. So may no country claim my bones when finally I become no one's son. Eventually, when I become the earth's, I want to be a citizen of dust and air. I am a citizen of nowhere. I'll forever thank my dad for bringing me here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yo.
Thank you.
Ayokunle Falomo, everybody. That was, please give it up in the comment section and all the love. Again, if anybody is interested in purchasing some of Ayo's work, it is on his website, afalomo.com. You can also follow him. I know some people are like, Ayo, when are you doing a workshop? I need to take Ayo's workshop. So follow on Twitter and IG at afalomo on Twitter, Mr. Afalomo on IG, or if you just want to send the man some money for being awesome, you can tip the poet via Venmo. Yo quiero dinero. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I don't know what my mom means by wash hands, but yes.
I love your mom, Chibbi.
She loves you, Ayo. We mentioned this before we went live, but like my mom has only seen 2 shows in the now 37 that we've done. And you are one of the 2, so
that makes me happy.
She has priorities. I think she plays favorites. That's what it is.
she definitely does, and sometimes it's not me. Well, thank you again for coming on, Ayo. It was an absolute blessing having you on. I look forward to seeing more of your work and reading your thesis.
Well,
yes,
if it comes out.
I'm on like it has to be published somewhere, wherever it's
actually like seal it. It's called the blue something. You could just like seal it so that nobody sees it. It might be one of those.
Don't do that to us.
No.
But this was really wonderful. Thank you so much.
It was. Thank you so much. It was an honor and pleasure to speak with you, and it really brought me joy. I think this is like the highlight of my day, even better than the sun.
I'm glad. It was a pleasure meeting you. you.
Oh, that was fantastic. Ooh. You can bounce out. We good. I mean, if I had, how can we sum up that conversation, Raquel?
We really can't. I know. I'm just like, I'm feeling it on all his words in my body. I think that's why I can't stay still, because it has energized me. I feel his words were so powerful that I just want to go and, I don't have the words really.
I like joy. I like joy, but I also think I like authenticity. I think we got a lot of that today. So
genius, an absolute genius, brilliant, stimulating, interesting in the best way possible.
Interesting. That's the word. Interesting in the best way possible. Well, thank you to everybody that was watching today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here every Thursday, but thank you to the audience. You all were amazing in being part of this conversation and all the great questions and comments that you had. And also thank you to our production assistant, Dominique, for taking care of all the things behind the scenes, and for Chris Conde for producing our theme music.
Yeah, and make sure to follow us. If you're not following us, look at this. There's a banner right here below our beautiful faces, right? It says Words and Shit Live. You can follow us on Instagram or on Twitter at Words and Shh, right? And please subscribe, rate, and review, whatever you want to do. For our podcast on YouTube, you can definitely find us on YouTube. So if you feel like Facebook Live was in your jam, we're also on YouTube. This is live on YouTube as well. Please, please, please. Look at us, follow us, and enjoy. Just keep playing this on repeat. You know,
it's also a great way to catch up on past episodes if you missed any. So you can go watch them on YouTube. On Words and Shit is the channel. Once we get 100 subscribers, we can actually customize that, or anywhere you get your podcast. Like I said, we have 37 episodes, so you can go listen to past episodes, or you can tune in next week. Who do we have next week, Raquel?
Oh, I am so excited for next week. It is a fellow Sucia, the original OG Sucia, is Natasha Hernandez, which is going to be next Thursday, January 21st. Great friend, brilliant zine producer and writer. So excited. So don't miss out on that, okay?
All right. Until next week, then, thank you for joining us. Y'all stay safe out there.
Stay safe. Bye. See you next week.